Okay, we're rolling.
Okay, thank you very much. Today for my second topic, I'm going to talk about corporate conflict and how it's actually an opportunity for us for learning and for growth. You see, conflict in the corporate sense is the inability to reconcile differences of perspective and then ultimately reconcile that into a course of action for the company. But if you don't, it can be a disabler to the company and ultimately jeopardize your original perspective and objective. So taking a look at a high-level summary of how we deal with conflict is important to address it directly one-on-one. You can address it either at the time of conflict and then address it again after that conflict has happened in terms of how the company can grow from it. I think the key takeaway, however, is what we do after the conflict has actually happened. We all know that we can give, from an HR perspective, different language and tools to our employees to deal with conflict. But ultimately, what does our organization do with that information after we've gotten it? A key point that we could point out here is number 4, and that's joint escalation. I recently read an article talking about IBM in Asia Pacific and how they have a policy of joint escalation at their company. So let's take a look at, for example, what IBM would do after conflict has happened. Let's say that you have 3 different divisions. It could be sales, marketing, and perhaps the third one is manufacturing. And let's say that person A has some sort of conflict with person B in the normal course of business. Perhaps from the sales department, we're incentivized to do one thing, and perhaps from a manufacturing perspective, we're incentivized to do another. What do we do with that conflict after it happens? Well, you could go to your boss, and the other person goes to his boss, and then nothing happens for a week. Or you guys could get together, talk about what's the nature of the problem from a big picture perspective. Talk about what have we done so far that could deal with the problem, and thirdly, what could be done to solve the problem. And then together, as a group, go up to your respective bosses. So for example, in our scenario here, tier number 1 would be the low level point of the spear, and then number 2, A, B, and C would get together and escalate to the second tier. Similarly, if second tier couldn't resolve it, they would then go to the third tier. A nice thing that IBM does is weekly, the senior management of Asia Pacific gets together and they review those conflicts about what can be learned. And I think there's a lot to be learned from this. This is really good information that frequently gets lost. So what could we learn from this? Well, you can see that these conflicts are real-world information. This is stuff that's happening in the actual course of business, and it's not theory. Second, the senior management can be in a place to actually change the fundamentals of the business and then grow from it in the future. And thirdly, I think very importantly, it is the differing perspectives coming together. Conflict in and of itself is the difference between these perspectives. And this gives you a framework and an opportunity to reconcile those perspectives. So why not use that cross-functional perspective? Get the input from manufacturing on what's important to them, from sales what's important to them, and so on and so forth, and then come together for a joint resolution. This way, the organization is learning and not just the individual. I myself, I could become a higher level salesperson, and perhaps I move on away from the company in the future. And I may have learned all of these things from my different conflicts along the way. But if I leave, what does the company really gain? This way, the company's DNA is impacted, and they go on to learn and grow from this opportunity in a real-world manner. Some things that we can learn from this are trends, aggregate data that's going on in the marketplace. Perhaps there are things that your customers are doing that you're not. Perhaps there's unmet customer needs that no one is satisfying. And if you look at what these trends, these conflicts in the big picture mean, perhaps you start to see the forest instead of just the trees about what your company could do better. So number 4 is where the company can grow along those same lines. And number 5 would be, organizationally speaking, what gaps do you have in communication? A lot of times, me as a salesperson, I understand that good service is a lot of times good organization. It's about making the customer have what they want when they needed it. And by not having that when the customer wanted it, perhaps there's something that you could do differently that's very simple, that would ultimately impact your business and make the customer happy. Number 6, pointing on that similar vein, is inefficiencies of organization. What are simple things we can do better and optimize to reach that? So what can I do as an individual? I'm the tip of the spear. I'm down there on tier 1. What can I do to help the company with this? Number 1 is think, but in a big picture. Think about what is going on, not just in you as an individual, but why is the customer having this conflict? Why am I having this conflict? Number 2 is communicate. A lot of times, like I said, conflict is a bit of a negative word, and so we want to run from it. We want to clam up. Open yourself up to work as a team, to communicate the differences, and then ultimately work as a team to make your customer happy. And then thirdly, escalate the issue and don't be afraid to ask for help. through this, I feel that you can help your organization, and ultimately, you can learn that conflict, it's a good thing. It's an opportunity for learning and for growth. Thanks very much.